Hey friends, thank you for joining us for our Saturday chat. This is Dave. I'm Ashley of SugarLimeBlue, here to chat.
Talking about our song this week and what we're going to attempt to cover.
For the Sunday shout out.
Attempt to cover.
Yep.
One of my favorite artists that people probably would not suspect of being one of my favorite artists. And that is Seal. So.
How does Seal get his name? Is this it's like his own name? I did not delve into this part. I just thought about it just now.
All that much about him. I just know that I really enjoyed his first couple albums.
Yeah.
And then everything I've heard.
And the song we're doing is from his debut album.
Right. Crazy.
Crazy's the song.
Crazy is the song.
Debut album was self-titled, Seal.
Yes. And you know that diving into Seal a little bit. So when he first started out, he was working.
In 1990.
Yeah. He was starting, he was making demos in a studio and working in a studio and making demos. And
for himself or other people?
For himself.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if he was working in the studio also, but
okay.
Somebody heard him and they were like, you know, they gave him a tape, and on the tape was Sly and the Family Stone, and Joni Mitchell, and Crosby, Stills and Nash. And he said,
good mixtape.
He said that when he heard that tape, he understood the assignment, basically, at that point. Like, before that, he said all his songs were too long and were not very concise. And that this was the first song. He listened to that for a long time. He said he listened to it over and over. Like, a lot of the songs on there, he really connected to them.
I think was it Sly and the Family Stone that they're the ones that they said, we're just going to start with the chorus, because that's the part we want to get to.
I don't know.
Was that them?
Maybe.
I saw this interview. It was really interesting.
I've not heard that before, but
it was like
that checks out.
It was like a walk-by interview. Something was going on in the background. I was like, oh, that's really interesting.
That's cool. So, yeah, so he said that after that, and also he, I guess when he was writing the demos to begin with, he didn't play an instrument.
Okay.
And he started to understand that he had to play an instrument. He's like, I have to play an instrument in order to write songs and understand.
It's helpful.
So he was like, started playing guitar, and these were the first 4 chords that he learned. And then he started playing it. He started playing it, and he was like doing the chorus part. And then later on, he added in the verse, and he said that he wrote the whole song in like 20 minutes.
It kind of makes sense with the syncopation of it, too, because I know from being an extreme novice on guitar, like doing the chords with your left hand, I'm right hand. Right hand is my dominant hand, let's say that. So making the chord shapes with my left hand is a specific skill. But I would say it pales in comparison to the challenge of strumming a pattern consistently throughout your entire bit that you're trying to get through.
There's definitely 2 parts to playing guitar. There's the timing aspect. And
I didn't even touch on timing. No, I'm just like the patterns.
The right hand is the patterns, and the right hand is what keeps your timing.
Okay, so, all right. But even just like learning a pattern is a thing. I think is actually for a lot of people can play really fast and have no timing. Like it's like, you know, they have the lack of coordination there, but it, like, you know, it's definitely 2 aspects of it. And then when you understand how it goes with the vocals, it's like another thing altogether. It is a whole nother thing, yeah.
But I thought it was really interesting. So he knocked the whole song out in like 20 or 30 minutes, he said. And it was like the first song that he wrote that he felt like, oh, wow, okay, this is on par. This could be a number 1. This could be a hit.
It did. I think it went to number 2 in the UK. I mean, upon its single release, like the top 10. It made it into the top 10, though. But, I mean, like, we've seen that some people that if we were the rankers of the time, you know, like we're like, this should have definitely been higher.
The original recording, right, is very much keyboard and electronic driven. It's got the
synthesizer sort of thing in there. Evidently there was a little
heavy drum and bass.
There was a little, and it's not exactly a sample, but a nod to now I can't remember, Shaft in that intro.
Well, they say that anytime that they hear like in the wah guitar, they're talking about the breakdown where it's like a wah guitar.
I think it was just a nod. There's no sampling or anything that. There was nothing like that.
So, and I hear that every time that anybody uses a wah guitar with a syncopation thing. But to be truthful, I think that like Parliament Funkadelic did that a lot more, and Hendrix did a lot more than. People just identify it as that
because that's the iconic song that people know from then.
One of them. So.
Yeah. So what else about Seal?
So he did this whole thing, right, where he was in the studio, did all that, and he thought he had a number one, and he did that, and then they released it, of course, and it only got to number 7 or whatever, like you said.
In the U.S. But he's from the UK, so I mean...
Oh, is he from the UK?
Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah.
But it's no wonder that, I find it interesting not to hop around, but I'm going to hop around.
Oh, to totally hop around. That's all I do.
It's like I'd always liked him so much, and then it was probably like a year ago that I found out that some of his big influences were like Joni Mitchell and Crosby, Stills and Nash, Sly and the Family Stone, and they were all people that I really much enjoyed. So isn't it funny that through the production of the sound of the 90s with the whole electronic production that they decided upon,
that vibe still came through.
The vibe still came through.
Yeah.
Clear that
I'd like to see a Venn diagram of all these artists and like all the artists that we like and where, like, I know you never know who all of their influences are. People ask us who our influences are, and when I have to answer that question, it's a little bit being put on the spot. But when I have to answer that question, it's more of an acute answer than a global answer, because I'm influenced by a lot of people for all of our music, but when I'm answering the question, it's like the latest songs that you've written, what are the influences that you're pulling from? That's what my mind goes to. Hi, Janet.
It's hard to say that
there's so many influences. Yeah.
Because stuff just comes out when you start.
It does. Indeed, it does. But I mean, to see who has been influenced by the same people that we feel are influential to our music and see where that overlap is in the sound would be very interesting.
I was going to say that when you were practicing that new song that you're writing downstairs.
Yes.
And I was working in the other room and I heard you singing it. I meant to tell you that it reminded me, there's an influence of Amy Mann in there. And I heard it, and I was like, "Oh, that part kind of reminds me a little bit of like Amy Mann." I hear a little Amy Mann influence in there.
I'm gonna need to go play it and then have you tell me where.
What part?
Yeah. Because I really like Amy Mann. I'll say this too, I was introduced to her through Russ, and how we would exchange music is he would give me a CD, and then I would listen to the CD until I'd created a relationship with it. Right. I would know the next song that was coming up before the next notes were played of that song.
That's how we would do albums when I was a teenager. It was just listen to the album until you kind of wore it out.
I created such a relationship with this one album that when I got onto her other albums, I'm like, no, it doesn't even compare. No, this is the one.
That happens though sometimes, right? Because you become so attached to a certain album or a certain artist that
it's good for where I was
at the time.
I think part of it was the message, and I believe that wherever you are as an artist in a space of time, you're offering a piece of your soul to the listener, or a piece of where you are, a snapshot of your life. Even if you don't realize that influence of your life is permeating into the soul of your songs.
Sure.
Where she was when she wrote that album and recorded it was where I was when I was listening to it.
Nice.
So it filled a void in me as a listener that she's like a time traveler through her music. So the other albums didn't fill that same void because I was in a space.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with her or her style or her writing.
Well, sometimes you listen to an artist, right, and you're just like, I don't get it. And then years later, you come back and you listen and you're like, wow, why did I not like this the first time around? This is really incredible.
Yep. And that's how I am with a lot of new songs.
I can name a lot of artists that I was like that. Probably the first time I heard the Rolling Stones, I wasn't really that interested. I was much more into the Beatles, and the Rolling Stones just didn't do it for me. And then later on, the Rolling Stones were like, oh, I love the Rolling Stones.
There's some really good songs.
Very much so with Bob Dylan. In the beginning, Bob Dylan has such a catalog, though, right? That if you're not into one era of Bob Dylan, you're probably into a different era of Bob Dylan.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's where filling the void of your mental space or your emotional space.
I heard Bob Dylan and I really liked it when he actually sang like Lay Lady Lay.
A lot of people don't like
the crooner side of things.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like the sound of his vocals, and I just disagree. I think it carries a lot of
honesty.
Yeah,
he's able to deliver something, and much in the same way as Jerry Garcia can.
I agree, and I'm not and that's not to say if you're like a vocal coach or somebody who's big into. She just likes to sit here and look at me. It's amazing. It's really cute.
Yeah.
It's not about the perfection of the delivery. It's about, like you were saying, the honesty.
Right.
It's really impactful, and when there's little hang-ups in the vocal or little maybe slides out of the perfection of a note.
That's what we're aspiring to be, right? We talked about it last week. We're trying to be honest artists, like true and organic, no auto-tune, no.
But these are some of our influences.
And it's like, it feels honest. It doesn't feel like, you listen to, we've been watching a channel lately, or I have been, and I can only watch so much of it because it gets frustrating. And the YouTube channel is called Wings of Pegasus. We'll just give them a shout out right now.
Yeah.
And
thanks for the entertainment.
The channel, the person
the honesty,
has that channel, his name is Phil, F-I-L, which I think is a great way to spell Phil. Makes so much more sense. And then, but he's been talking about people that use not only... He's able to expose because of today's technology. Here's the upside and the downside, right? Because the upside, supposedly to a lot of these artists is like, I don't have to sing perfect anymore because I can have a machine do it for me. And I don't even know if they think that. Maybe it's the producers.
Right.
Whatever, But then now it's come so that so many people use it live. They use autotune live.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of
wild to me.
It's kind of like cheating. It's like having bionic legs and running a marathon.
It's different. But I think along those lines, it's different if everybody has bionic legs and are running a marathon, and you know what you're up against. If you walk in and if you're going to see an event and you know what you're getting, I feel like you're there for an experience. For some people, it has very little to do with the sound of the experience, but more to do with being present in the same space as that artist.
Yeah, that's just like hero worship. That's insane.
And that's a thing. That is a thing. It's not my thing, but it's a thing.
It's like a whole culture of things now. It's like...
Anyway, carry on about the Wings of Pegasus and the technology, because it's very interesting.
He's been able to expose some very big, even legacy acts. And I don't know if expose is the right word, but yes, probably expose is the right word. It's not that... I don't know, they were actively hiding it and they don't want to admit to it, for sure, because... The fact that people don't want to admit to it, let's just stop on that for a second. The fact that people don't want to admit to it and come out and say, yeah, I use autotune in my live performances.
Right.
That means there's some shame or some amount of knowing that there's cheating there. Yeah, otherwise, they would be proud to come out and say, oh, yeah, in this one part, I would almost respect somebody more if they came out and said, hey, in this part I'm singing and dancing and it's very aerobic and I have a hard time maintaining my breath. So just to make sure the fans get the best experience, I use autotune.
Yeah, I would totally respect that.
I could respect that more than them trying to hide it. But then, not only that, so it's been a big thing. One of the, just to name a few of the artists, it's everyone.
Don't name any artists.
Taylor Swift, Eagles.
No, we're not naming
even
artists.
Michael Bublé.
Stop naming artists.
It kind of ruins the fan experience for me a little bit. And so some of the people, he'll even say, like, they don't need to use this. It's just a culture now. It's a culture of using autotune.
Some of it I kind of wonder, like you said, maybe the producers made the decision. And I almost wonder, do the artists know?
Okay, so one of the things that surprised me is they definitely know, because one of the things that surprised me is not that it's just autotune. Like, some of these acts that I've mentioned, even, we'll say 2 out of the 3 that I just mentioned, not only are they using autotune, they're actually singing to pre-recorded tracks.
So it's not, okay, let's delineate here. Okay, so pre-recorded track, for those of you that are not in the music business, a pre-recorded track is not your album cut. Sometimes they're done the day of, and I know that there are major...
So at the...
some of the majors do them. The Super Bowl is one of them the Big Game is one of them that... they require
because they don't want any mistakes during the performance.
But what they'll do is they'll have the artist sing it.
The audio setups.
Yeah.
So then basically
hold on. It's the same situation though. I know SNL used to do it. I don't think that they do anymore.
I don't think that they've ever done it. Actually, they're one of the knowns.
Are they not the ones?
But like,
maybe it's the Tonight Show or something like that.
They've had like some of it on the New Year's Rockin' Eve stuff.
That one. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So what they'll do is the artist will come in the day of or the day before, in very close proximity to the actual event, and they'll record what they consider to be a good take. So it's not necessarily perfection. They're sliding into notes and whatnot like you naturally would, but it's pre-recorded and then they lip sync to it on the day of the event, the live event.
But it's also still, even though it's still close, then the one that's called a good take, they'll still throw auto-tune on it just to make it even a little more.
Well, now they will,
perfect.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's like cheating on top of cheating to me because, like, and I don't even enjoy the sound of auto-tune. Like, some people can't hear it, but having worked in the studio so much, it's like I can almost pick it out a mile away.
No, I know that some people do use autotune, especially in the hip-hop world and some of the pop music world. They use autotune as an effect.
Now,
so that's a little different
world to me. Like, if you're going to be, singing, using it as an effect, like almost like a vocoder type of thing.
Yeah.
That's like a completely different
almost sounding
thing.
robotic.
Like T-Pain made that famous.
Yeah.
And it's
and
like
Cher,
like,
yeah.
I believe in love after love was the
Do you
track.
believe in
Do
love?
you believe in love after love? That
Life
was the track.
After Love.
Life after love, whatever it was.
We'll get
love
there.
after life, something. Anyhow.
Cher.
They kind of made that effect popular as an effect where it's like a garbled underwater type of vocal effect. And that's fine. You know what I mean? That's creative. Using it to sell yourself as something that you're not is something different to me.
Right. So I have a question, and you'll know this as the engineer, producer person. So I've often thought, as a singer who doesn't use autotune, the singers that do use autotune as an effect,
yes,
are they singing out of tune purposefully? Like, what does that line sound like in order to make the line sound?
Like, so the early effect could just be hit really hard on the front end where like you could just have it like overly correct. There was a mode that it would go into.
Okay, so they're not singing a different melody line that we're not privy to or something. You could sing in key
and still get the effect.
Okay,
it was just like
I was like, wonder what it sounds like.
It was set like so that the sensitivity is like way over the top, and then the correction is more than enough. If that makes sense.
All right, no,
so
that makes more sense.
Chorusing type of effect.
That makes more sense. I would go about it the hard way.
Right. So
write a whole different melody.
To continue down this rabbit hole for a minute, and just to say how bad that modern music's gotten. So I was watching something the other night.
This is subjective. This is Dave's opinion.
This is not subjective. To me, it's objective. Like this is
Dave's opinion.
This is a hill I will die on. Okay, because
we hear you. Dave's passionate about his subjective opinion.
Like there's uses to me. I'm not saying all autotune is unacceptable, but there's uses. And there's use like even in the studio, I can understand like, okay, you have a really good vocalist. They sing, they do 4 or 5 takes. You have a great take. They leave the studio, they fly back to California, and you realize that one thing, like if the person can sing it and you're just using it to get a take that you could have got otherwise.
If you're like 10 cents off.
Yeah. And then
as opposed to being
polishing
the 2 or
and it's
3.
not just running the whole time in the background, And most of the time, like you can't be a terrible singer and just use autotune, like and get the results, So you have to be close anyway to get it to sound right. The farther off, the more you get the effect, like you were talking about.
Right.
But so it becomes more and more obvious. But there's acceptable uses to me. But to just have it on in the background, like on every take, that's just lazy at this point.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that like? If you auto-tune some of what we consider great voices from the 60s, 70s, 80s...
it would completely mess up. Some of those that you just talked about.
Well, even like
Jerry
Whitney
Garcia,
Houston,
Joni Mitchell...
You take somebody like Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey, they sang without auto-tune for the most part until maybe the very late end of their career.
No, I don't think Whitney.
And that is what the gold standard is and was. And you listen to those things and you plot them with pitch software and you'll see that they go just a little sharp, they go just a little flat. And it's that adds the character and the emotion to the takes, But then you come back and you auto-tune it, you get rid of all that. You're taking away the nuance of a great singer and replacing it with a robot. And if you want a robot, then just have a robot sing it to begin with.
We can do that now.
We can do that now. So, but to just say, like, go back on track to what I was saying just a second ago, just to say how bad it's actually gotten is not only are they singing to pre-recorded tracks, and not only are they using auto-tune
on the pre-recorded tracks,
they're using cut and paste to do backup vocals. In other words, they're like, if a song like, I don't know, let me just pick one random song out of the thin air, like One of These Nights by the Eagles.
Okay.
Like they're saying, they have that really high harmony on One of These Nights, you know, but it's like way up there.
Yeah.
You know? So instead of singing it 4 times on the pre-recording that they're now singing to live, they sang it once and then they're taking it, copying it, and pasting it in the other places. So not only are they not singing it
I see what live, you mean about the lazy.
They're not singing it live. They're not even making an effort to make each vocal different. It's just a cut and paste at this point. And you're going and you're paying hundreds of dollars to see legacy acts.
Yeah.
Hundreds of dollars to see legacy acts because of their greatness. And it just feels like a bait and switch, or like that you're getting your wolves pulled over their eyes. And maybe shame on us for not realizing sooner, you know. But also, you know, shame on us if we continue to let them get away with it, is how I feel. You know, I won't pay money at this point. I'm at the point where somebody that's doing stuff that's, in my mind, that egregious, I won't pay money to go see them. Forget it. I don't care if I like them. And I'm not saying anything. I like a lot of the Eagles songs, you know. I am not the biggest Taylor Swift fan. I'm not even really a Taylor Swift fan, but I don't have anything to say really against her.
No, not at all.
But I'm not going to go, I would definitely not be persuaded to go pay money to hear her sing the backing tracks.
Right. So I am sitting here forming an opinion.
Rather mime to backing tracks. I'm sorry, because she's not really singing to backing tracks.
So a lip synced is what you're going for. Yeah. So I'm sitting here forming an opinion and thinking that there are 2 separate forms of artistry here. And there is the creation of a song, the writing of a song.
Oh, there's more than one form of artistry here.
Hold on. Let me finish my thought.
Multiple, sorry.
Let me finish my thought. There's the creation and the origin of it. So I'm saying, like, you're writing the song and the performance as per the studio, right? So you have recorded it, you've made a performance, you've recorded that performance. And then there's a separate artistry to a live performance. And I think that is what you're feeling is being stolen or masqueraded, like conned. You're getting conned out of the actual live performance
because of the live performance.
That's part of it, but it's a separate artistry.
But if I go to see a band, I go to see an artist, a solo artist. I want to see their interpretation on that night. I want to see how they handle it if they have a cold.
Right.
I want to see how they handle it if they sneeze in the middle of a track.
Yeah.
If they choke, if they forget the words, if somebody runs on stage.
Some of my favorite moments in a live event have been when those things happen.
I don't want it to be like the person I'm watching drops dead of a heart attack, God forbid, and the backing track keeps playing.
Oh my gosh, I never even thought of that scenario. That's terrible. What a terrible scenario to think of.
You know what I'm saying?
But also, how terrible would that feel as, like, you would have to go through a whole gambit of emotional content if that scenario played out.
How about this? Let's make real music 100% of the time.
I mean, I feel like we could be certified organic.
Certified organic. That's it. Where do we apply to be the first certified organic rock band?
Wait, do we have to eat organic feed all the time? Because we can't afford all that.
Yeah. It's crazy. So, anyhow, I'll get off my soapbox.
Okay, hold on a minute. No. Let's keep you on the soapbox for just a second. So, I know that we've had several loops to loop back around to. I would encourage you, if this kind of segment interests you at all, go watch Wings of Pegasus, because he shows you, he maps it out. He has technology to map out the vocals, and you can see with your own eyes how...
You might have to watch more than one video to understand.
He explains it really well.
Certain videos he explains it really well. Other videos...
Do you have a handful that maybe you would
because
recommend?
I don't want to call out any certain artists. So, but if you kind of go to his channel, you can probably look through and see what interests you.
If you
want to be disappointed in your favorite artist.
Yeah, if you message Dave, he'll let you know some of them maybe.
No, I don't really know any off the top of my head, so that would be futile. But anyhow, let's loop this back around to Seal. So
I told you several loops. We got to loop back around,
and then we'll wrap it up. But Seal, I watched several live performances of his.
Amazing.
This
man.
All completely different. All completely different.
Like he was singing a different song.
Sometimes with the electronica, sometimes with acoustic guitar, sometimes with 2 or 3 acoustic guitars.
Sometimes with a foot up on a stool.
Sometimes.
This is a thing.
Yeah, all kinds of different ways. Sometimes just him and a guitar.
Yep.
Sometimes an acoustic band.
The whole band.
Every time, different. Almost every time I listen to was a slightly different arrangement, which gives me a clue that he's not singing to back and traps.
Not at all.
And
I don't even think he knew what he was going to do in the moment.
You can also hear the pitch inflections, which make me feel more emotional as a listener.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
That's, to me, what actually starts to penetrate. When I'm listening to Pitch Perfect and a computer puts it dead on center, I feel...
It's sterile.
Less emotion. I feel sterile. I feel like I might as well be listening to a record at home by myself with it playing in the background.
You can have a really great song. You can have a sterilized, really great song that could be better if it's given that
it's gotten to that point where I do believe that's true.
Yeah.
I think there's the songs that are in the 70th percentile maybe can be taken to the 80th or 90th percentile of how good they are.
Yeah.
But if there's a song that's at 95 or 98% there and you put autotune on it, it's now a 90 percentile song.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Diminishing.
Yeah. So I think it takes away from the greatest, maybe helps out some of the upper mediocrity.
Less is more, maybe.
But the
autotune.
I think producers really need to take some responsibility. And
it could be used. It could be used, like you were saying, in certain scenarios. But keep it on Seal, and let's loop back around to the song "Crazy."
Yeah.
What a fantastic song that is truly timeless.
What a great song that's timeless. Oh, one more thing before we go. Do you know what the song's about?
Tell me.
You don't know?
Tell me.
So, 2 things. It's talking about events that happened in the late 80s, early 90s. One is the fall of the Berlin Wall. Through a fractal and a breaking wall. I see you, my friend. Touch your face.
How lovely.
Again. And then the what did they call it? It's not a genocide, but the killings on Tiananmen Square.
Okay, yeah.
The whole line about woman's got another shooter.
Oh, that's why he references the color yellow.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I understand. I wasn't sure
I wasn't sure what was
the meaning there.
Either.
So I was thinking, and I'll tell you my story that I told myself, not having the background of the song. So the fractal and the breaking wall. What was the first line? With the man after 70 years?
Yeah.
Is that
that's part
the
of
wall?
That. That's part of the wall. That's the verse.
Okay. All right. So what the story that I told myself was man at university or man at church, who has been there his whole life, and people just aren't getting out of it what he feels like they should be getting out of it. They're not taking the knowledge or the spiritual meaning away, and all he's there is just unlocking the door over and over again. And I'm like, oh, wow. So I was feeling bad for this man. And then the fractal and the breaking wall, I don't know why, and I knew it was wrong, but it didn't matter. This is the visual that stuck in my head, was a mirror that was fractured, but it was your own face. You're touching the face of yourself from before. And I was like, oh, that's a lovely sentiment. And then the crazy yellow people were cowardly.
Yeah.
But I was internalizing everything, my own self, chasing after myself.
Song, how we've said before in the past.
You can tell yourself a story that's separate. Ways. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's really great that, he said that he felt like he told everything he needed to say, and he was very concise about it, and
poetic.
He felt like with all the big things that were happening in the world, that really crazy things were going on, and that but at the same time we weren't gonna be able to get through it all without being a little bit crazy.
Well, I also took I was thinking about the word crazy, and a lot of times most of the time, it has a really negative meaning to it. Crazy means to have lost one's senses, to be out of touch with one's own sanity, right? But it also means just to act out of character.
Yeah, get out of your norms.
Mm-hmm. To
I think
act
that's
out
a lot
of character.
What the song was about.
I really feel like that's not necessarily a negative thing, because we do find comfort in the regimented life with recycling our days over and over again, right?
Right.
But it's when we break out of that we really adventure, that we're really chasing something grand. So maybe not crazy in the sense of losing one's senses or losing touch with reality, but crazy in the dreaming of a separate new space that you can exist in, of dreaming a new reality for yourself.
We're never gonna, like it's a good way to put it, that we're never gonna survive this world like the way that we're acting as a human race.
Yeah.
Unless we start thinking a little bit crazy, like in other words, giving up the love of money, starting to care more about your brother than yourself, starting to invest,
or at least the same.
Right, starting to invest in the future of other people beyond yourself.
Well,
because
I think
one day we're not going to be here. And
that's it exactly. And I think
thinking about that.
I think that so often we've been taught that the answers are you can rely just on you, and you can you have to look out for number one, and that's always oneself and this rugged individualism, and that's really not where it's at. It's in community. It's in love. And you don't get that just only like pushing out on everything.
True.
So let's get a little crazy and make a fantastic community. We're so glad that you've decided to join us. Got a favorite Seal song? Like, what's up?
Yeah.
What's up in your world? What's your crazy thing?
Get crazy out there.
What's your crazy dream? What's the crazy thing that would knock you out of your normal routines? We look forward to seeing you tomorrow for our rendition of Seal's Crazy, and next week for another Saturday chat.
Have a good week.
Hey friends, go to SugarLimeBlue.com right now to get your hat and t-shirt and our new Roots guitar logo. See you there.